Welcome back to 50 Days to Rebuild, the series where I do 50 minutes of exercise and read 50 pages of a physio book in a day in attempts to rehab myself. This is day 26. Starting off with the exercise portion today, I want to cover something a bit strange that I just gave a try, following on from what I read from Pavel around his super joints book and about basically lubricating the joints. Even though I found some of this content quite confusing, I thought I would just sort of throw crap at the wall and just see what stuck. And I did so, and it actually went quite well. So I ran through a few different movements, not all of them. If you ran through all, I think he said it would take about 25 to 40 minutes. I just wanted to try it. Also, there was a few movements there that I thought I basically wasn't qualified for, like I would hurt myself doing. But I gave a few a try, like for example, the sort of neck flexion and extension. And I just tried to get to 25 reps because he said you want to do basically the same amount of reps as your age. I also did the neck rotations, neck lateral flexions, this sort of like arm reach to the side, and shoulder dislocates. Now, starting with the neck stuff, I will say this actually felt quite good. Like I felt it working quite close to the spine, which is where I've had pain since I was 10. So it's nice to have something through there. Whenever that starts activating, I get a bit excited that I might have stumbled onto something that could be actually helpful. And I was camping, and normally camping is somewhere where I experience a lot of pain. We're sitting for a long time, we're sort of just doing movements I'm not so used to. I also went surfing, but what I noticed was actually probably a reduction in pain. Like this might just be a correlation, but again, often surfing I'm in a fair bit of pain. There's like a lot of neck extension posture, but it went pretty well. This could have just been like a correlation. I had less pain and I happened to be surfing. I'm not sure though, like this was a good sign from my perspective really. And also when I ran through the dislocates, this felt spectacular again through this sort of area that I've historically had pain, provided that I had kept my neck tall the whole time and really put a lot of focus into that. Using the cue that Pavel talked about trying to pull the band apart really helped. And it did feel like quite a lot of work to be going through this many reps. But again, I felt my shoulders felt nice, my upper back and neck felt nice, which is not something that I'm too akin to. So that was cool, and I didn't try and sort of hold it. I didn't try and squeeze and get a lot of tension, but I did try and push to the end range, which seems to be what Pavel was suggesting to do. The last thing, which was these sort of arm reaches, he said that you want to imagine your arm as like a telescopic sort of instrument and that you're sort of reaching out as far as you can in this extending telescope way. This was hard to not compensate with and get some rotation, like you wanted exclusively lateral bending. But I guess it felt nice in the shoulder and some of the upper back region. I don't think it felt as nice as the other ones, but it was good. Looking at the side plank, I'm continuing to get good glute activation and actually managed to get a bilateral squeeze of the glutes in the setup phase, and just sort of seeing how that's going. It seems to be going okay, but we've got to keep playing with that basically. With the glute bridge, I'm liking the trajectory that we're seeing here. The first set has traditionally for me been quite poor, but I noticed on this day that basically I was getting an okay activation, that there was some level of hamstring activation, but it was definitely reduced, and that was from the first set, and then it got better on the set after, but again, that's trending in the right direction, so I'm very happy with that. Now, looking at what I learned this day, this is a first for this challenge. So I started a new book. It's called The Neuromechanics of Human Movement. I have abandoned this book. I did read the 50 pages, but that's not something I'm going to continue reading. This was essentially a huge physics dive. It felt like I was back in high school doing physics, which is, was a fun time in high school, but it's not really the info that I'm wanting here, and it might be okay, but for the approach that I'm taking here of trying to read 50 pages, this is just too much. Reading 50 pages of a math textbook, essentially, and trying to process that, I got through it, but did I really take much in? Did I really process it? I tried to, but at a certain point, I just couldn't retain anything. And it also just wasn't really what I was chasing. I wanted to know the principles of biomechanics as opposed to sort of how to do some of the calculations. maybe those two can't be disentangled, but yeah, I guess I was a bit disappointed with that, but there was some bits of info that I thought were useful. One was just that I had actually a proper definition for translation and rotation. So rotation being an angular force and translation being a linear force. That's nice. I often use these terms somewhat hesitantly, so good to clarify. Also, torque was covered a bit here, which is something that comes up a lot, so I'm quite happy to get more of an insight into that. They said here that the magnitude of torque depends on the moment arm, and that the moment arm is the size of the force as well as the distance from the line of action from the axis of rotation. Very confusing idea there, but I think it was essentially saying that the line of action is just the direction of pull, and the further distance from what we're rotating around. So like, if I hold my arm out straight, there would be more torque applied when I was entering flexion. Beyond that, look, there was a fair bit covered, but honestly, I found it completely boring, and that's me, and I find weird things interesting. So yeah, that was a lot. Like I said, I'm probably not gonna ban this book, but you know, it is what it is. We'll find a better one next time. Anyway, thanks for listening. Have a good one. Cheers.